All right, so it is an understatement to say that a lot went down in the college football world yesterday. Oregon and Washington both departed the Pac-12 for the Big Ten, and Arizona State, and Utah all left the Pac-12 for the Big 12, completing that four corners composition in the Big 12 with the Arizona schools, Utah and Colorado. I've been watching The Bachelorette for the past several weeks. I'm not ashamed to admit it, and there's always a lot of drama that ensues in that show. But I have to say, the amount of drama that unfolded in the college football world yesterday pretty much equates this entire Bachelorette season. It's been insane, but I'm here for it. Now, the way that this happened, I was out to dinner with my girlfriend last night, and I was contemplating doing a video yesterday. I actually recorded one after the Oregon and Washington news just to have a reaction out there and mention what I know. But then I pumped the brakes because I felt like there was more to come. I saw the update about Utah and Arizona State potentially joining the Big 12, and then that went down, and I kept seeing the updates. I'm out at dinner with my girlfriend last night, and I looked over the table at her and I said, "We're witnessing history right now." I'm like, "This is insane." The Pac-12 has lost 5 schools in one day. I've really never seen anything like this, and it's one of those things. We've been talking about it for a while in the college football world about the possibility of something like this happening. I saw something last weekend that there could be bombshell news this week, so I was somewhat expecting it, but to actually see it come into fruition and manifest itself into reality was insane. And you see the news, you process it, but all of us, I still don't think we've really absorbed the magnitude of how big this really is. Our sport is going to look completely different from a structure standpoint, with its landscape, in these next 2 years. And all of us, we're not really going to understand it until we see it on the field. We see it actually happening. It's insanity. But removing that emotion from the situation now and assessing how these moves yesterday impact every party involved, that's what I want to do now. And let's start with the Pac-12. I'll say the one really concerning detail about the Pac-12 is that yesterday morning it failed to get a grant of rights signed by all of its university presidents. That's something really concerning because that is integral to keeping the conference fastened together. However, the one positive thing about the Pac-12 is that the Mountain West is interested in a merger. That's something that I had discussed several months back in a video. Several Mountain West schools joining those remaining in the Pac-12 if something like this were to happen, to form a conference that I think would be a G5 conference. You could categorize it as. The Pac-12 would just have to pivot and innovate if it wants to survive. The Mountain West is interested in a partnership like that, and I think that's something that the Pac-12 should pursue. If it fails to do that, then it most likely would be doomsday for that conference. But ultimately, I think that the conference will want to survive. It'll do anything that it needs to do to ensure that. And if that means partnering with the Mountain West, that's a decision they'll probably have to make to evolve and survive. So there's somewhat of a grim outlook on the Pac-12, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's a lot of people out there that are saying that it's over, the conference is going to fold. I think for now, that's still an overreaction, but if everything falls through with the Mountain West, then that may be the unfortunate reality. So that's the Pac-12. The schools involved in these deals, Oregon and Washington, are going to a much more competitive conference. You'll be playing teams of the likes of Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Those are 3 playoff contenders right there. However, I've been hearing a lot of people say that Oregon and Washington aren't built for the Big Ten, and I'm going to counter that statement by saying that 2 years ago in 2021, Oregon went to Columbus, Ohio to play number 6 Ohio State and won on the road 35-38. Last year, Washington beat number 11 at the time, Michigan State, 39-28 in a showdown. So both schools are built to compete in that conference because those are two prominent schools within it. And there's going to be some very interesting games, some interesting matchups. I can't wait to see Oregon go to the Big House. That's going to be fascinating. Or to see Ohio State go to Washington. Those are matchups I wouldn't even be able to dream up. And I get it. I am a fan of regionality. But it'll be intriguing to see those matchups. Just different matchups you never thought of before. Maybe Oregon and Rutgers. There's two schools you can imagine finally playing. And the same will take place in the Big 12. Just think about Arizona State and Cincinnati being in the same conference. That is wild. And that is going to be one long flight. A couple layovers to get from Cincinnati to Tempe, Arizona. You'll get there eventually, but it's going to be one long flight. But those schools, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, they match the level of competition in the Big 12, and they fit the school within it from an identity standpoint. All of them, Oregon and Washington and the Big 10 and those four corners schools in the Big 12, I really think it's a natural fit, so I'm excited for it. Now let's talk about college football and landscape of it overall. And I alluded to it a minute ago. I've always been a fan of regionality. I love those regional rivalries. Oregon and Oregon State, Texas and Texas A&M. That's what I grew up on, and I am a traditionalist, so I appreciate that. But I also appreciate and value the growth of our sports, the evolution of our sports, and if conferences need to realign to ensure that our sport continues to grow, then I'm here for it, and I support all of those decisions. And the MLB, when I first heard the pitch clock and the concept of it, to be honest, I thought it was kind of stupid. But then I saw it get implemented this year and how the first several weeks of baseball unfolded this year. And I saw last week, I believe it was last Saturday, the MLB had its highest attendance per stadium since 2013. And you can attribute a lot of that to the pitch clock. The game is flowing faster, and that's what people want. If college football has to realign to captivate people, that's what it has to do. And I just want to see our sport grow. I want to see ratings continue to grow and blossom, because this is one of the best sports in our nation, that pageantry around it. Baseball, it's America's pastime. College football, it's the South's pastime. We live for it down here, and so many people are so passionate about college football, and I just want to see it survive in general. Whatever has to be done to ensure that, I'm here for it. And another reason why we shouldn't be panicking about decisions like this, I see a lot of people like, college football is never going to be the same. And yes, it's never going to be the same. And as somebody who thinks traditionally like I do, I am somebody who can be afraid of change. I don't like things drastically changing. It is a bit intimidating to see just all these different compositions within conferences, having to get used to that in these next couple of years. I don't like it. Like there is something somewhat unsettling about Oregon going to play Iowa every year. But when you go back and examine the history of all sports in their respective leagues, this is something that's not uncommon. I mean, think about it. The Seattle Seahawks used to be in the AFC. They played the Miami Dolphins in a playoff game before. I mean, that's just the reality of it. The Arizona Cardinals and the New York Giants used to be in the same division. The Houston Astros used to be in the National League. The Patriots and the Colts were in the same division at one point. It's weird to think about, but that's what it was. And then those sports naturally reorganize themselves, reassemble themselves, and now you have the current organization that you have. Even college football. There used to be a Southwest Conference. Tulane used to be in the SEC. And the league just naturally regulated itself. It naturally reorganized itself, and that's what's unfolding right now. It's scary because we've been used to one thing for the past 15, 20 years, but the sport, it's all leagues, every 25, 30 years, they reorganize themselves. And it's something that's just natural because some teams grow, some teams decline. Clemson wasn't always as prominent as it's been these past couple years. That's a program that's really started to blossom. Cincinnati's another program that's really started to blossom. They weren't always as powerful as they've been. And then others decline. But back in the day, Army used to be one of the most competitive schools in the country. Ivy League schools were winning national championships. Tulane was competitive at one point. And after a while, some teams just decline, whether it's performance, whether it's funding, whether it's both of those factors combined. Some teams just decline. So they have to downgrade when it comes to conferences. Some have to upgrade. That's just a natural phenomenon that occurs in college sports. And that is what it is. But I can assure you there's no reason to panic. I think these are moves that are initially intimidating, but at the end of the day are ultimately going to benefit our sport overall, which is what I ultimately endorse. And there's still several schools that are assessing their future. Stanford is one of them. They're assessing all possibilities right now. They may join the Big Ten. They may become independent. Washington came out with a spicy, fiery comment yesterday saying that they're disappointed in those former Pac-12 schools that have relocated. That may spark some animosity for this year. And lastly, Deion Sanders, as always, had to put his 2 cents in. He had a little clap back at Oregon yesterday saying that they're chasing a bag. So there's a lot of animosity right now that's being stimulated, and I like that because when I was younger, I watched those Red Sox-Yankees rivalries, and there was always so much animosity in the sports. But what did that animosity do? It drove interest. It sparked ratings up. The ratings dramatically increased. People wanted to see those Yankees-Red Sox meetings. People are going to want to watch Oregon and Colorado this year because of those statements from Deion Sanders. So and then there's going to be animosity between Washington State and other Pac-12 schools, this year before they change conferences. There's going to be animosity between Washington State and those schools. So it's just going to be interesting to watch. Animosity always drives ratings and drives interest. So it's something that's beneficial for not only the Pac-12 but college football overall this year, the Pac-12 in its last year. But I'm curious to see how everything is going to unfold in these years to come, and if there's more realignment decisions that are going to be coming. You also have to look at the SEC. How is this going to impact the SEC? Will they be more inclined to potentially add Florida State and Clemson now? Will Clemson and Florida State put more of an effort into to leave the ACC? I think that's all the SEC should add, because to a certain degree it's about quality over quantity. The SEC already has Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Florida, now Texas and Oklahoma coming, and those are huge brands. I think Florida State and Clemson are the only two that really match those brands from a power magnitude standpoint. So the SEC may have to reassess itself after the Big Ten and Big 12 made those moves yesterday, but I think that's all that conference will entertain. But it's going to be interesting to see how everything else unfolds. And if there's more news to come this week, there may be more videos to come, but this is all that I have to offer for now. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.